Okay, so we're going to go over the art of type, and we're going to learn how to do different things with our actual topography or our actual fonts. Okay, and we're going to learn about different types of fonts and what they're categorized as, and then we're going to do a little activity. Okay? Okay. So we're going to achieve a working knowledge of the basic topography terms and learn the categories type. That's just what I said. Have you ever thought about how your words look on a page? Have you ever looked at something you created and just didn't look right? Sometimes that can be fixed with a simple change in type. There's a synonym for type that I already said. What's another word that we use for type? Font. That's the one that we mostly use nowadays, right? So, what is topography? Topography is the art and process of arranging type on a page. Simply changing the typeface size, color, weight, and placement of your type, your design can add extra emphasis to your words, enhance the visual appeal of your message. Typeface. Okay. A typeface is a set of letter forms, numbers, and symbols unified by a common visual design. Okay, so this typeface right here is called Tabasco because it actually looks like the letters on the cover of the word of the Tabasco sauce. However, I will say Tabasco, you guys know what Tabasco is? It's a hot sauce, right? But I think recently they updated their logo. But this is really, when I was growing up, this is the font that was pretty much.
That's so crazy. I thought Tabasco was like smoking tobacco. That's tobacco.
Tobacco. Yeah, no, this is a red hot sauce that my dad used to put on his eggs every day. The word font is interchangeable with typeface. We already said that, right? You guys came up with that on your own. Okay, type styles. Each typeface may also have a variety of styles, which are modified version. Okay, there are two words on the test that people get messed up all the time. The first one is type styles, and the next is type family, which I'll get to in a minute. So here's what I'm going to say to try to help you. The type styles are the ones like italic, bold, italic and bold, condensed and extended. What I like to say is if you can just go to your Word document and just touch bold and touched underline and touched italic, that's a style. When it starts doing something extra like double wide or shadow, that's a type family, right? And I'll show you examples. So the type styles is the smaller category. It has less in it. The type family is a bigger family. It's got like grandpa, grandma, great-grandchildren in it, all right? Here we go. The family. Some of the typefaces have more versions than those above, and they can have outlines or be shaded or decorated. So think of type families as the bigger group. If it is outlined or shadowed or puffied or whatever, but it's the same type or the same font, then it's great-grandpa and great-grandma and grandma and grandpa and mom and dad and cousins and uncles and great-grandchildren. There's a bunch of different types. Okay, so the family is the bigger grouping, and the style is the one that you can probably just click one little button on your computer to just change it up. I'll go back to family. So the first one is regular. The second one is italicized. The third one is bold. The fourth one is bold and italicized. The fifth one, this one is like double bold or expanded or wide. Sometimes they'll call it wide. This is wide, wide bold and wide bold italics. There it is. See how this one, there's a bunch in it. You can't just push one button. Most of the time you can't just push in one button in Word and get these. But you can get those first two by just pushing a button. So the first two are the style, and then when it expands to grandpa and grandma and all these, then it's the family. That's the main thing that people get confused on this test, all right? Type terms. Type is usually measured in points. There are 72 points in an inch. The larger the point size, the larger the type. Who can tell me what point font you use for MLA format?
11.5.
That is wrong.
12.
12-point font.
Inches.
12-point font. Yeah, 12-point font. And does anybody know what font type you use for MLA format?
Times New Roman.
I'm learning.
Times New Roman.
Thank you.
Okay. These right here are used for body. You guys, nobody ever uses a 6-point font. If you turned in something to your teachers with a 6-point font, they probably club you. Just kidding, they wouldn't club you. But we can't even read those. They're super small. The only time I use a 6-point font is, look at this, is if I'm using Word, if I'm using Photoshop, I don't have to do this, but if I'm using Word and I want this line and this line to be closer together, then I'll put a 6-point space in between and it'll bring them closer. So large point fonts like 14, 18 are used for headlines. Also, I use a 16 or an 18 when I'm doing a PowerPoint presentation. Have you guys ever seen a PowerPoint presentation where there's like 5 paragraphs on or 6 paragraphs on one PowerPoint page and they're really hard to read? Yeah, because whoever designed it didn't follow the idea of 16, 18 size font for that page. I'd rather look at 2 or 3 slides with that information so I could read it than one slide that has, 10 paragraphs on it, all right? Weight is the thickness of stroke on the text. Some text weights, like italics, are light and airy. Others, like bold, are heavy and thick. Most type families have different weights. Alignment, you guys, this is what I remember, this is how I remember alignment. When you are in Word or on Canva, they do the same thing. There's little buttons that you can push. One right justifies, one centers it, one left justifies. Center alignment is used for short amounts of text in a flyer or announcement. Never center a whole document, you guys. It's hard to read. You center like one phrase or a title or one quote. But you're never going to center the whole newsletter, right? Left alignment is easy to read. Can anybody have a hypothesis why left alignment is easy to read?
Because people read from left.
That is exactly right. In the United States, we read from left to right, so left justified in the United States is the easiest way for people to read. All right? Right alignment I rarely use, sparingly. The only time I use that is in the yearbook every once in a while when I have it next to a photo and it just looks the best when it's in that particular photo, but not all through the yearbook, just periodically. And then justified, you guys don't see very often anymore. Justified is, you'll see a column on the left and a column on the right, and none of these little words come out like this. It'll just be straight down. But what it tends to do is it stretches some of the words, not the words, but the spaces between the words. So let's see if I can get an example of that. Okay, see this one, how there's extra spaces between that? Do you see that?
Yeah.
Right here?
Yeah.
Because the left column and the right column are the same, and so what they've done, what the computer does nowadays is, but they used to do it in newspapers, is they add extra spaces so that the left column and the right column are exactly alike. Leading. This we can do in Canva. That's why we're going to do our project in Canva. You cannot do leading in Word unless you just push return extra times. Okay? So leading is kind of how we say, oh, is it single space? Is it double space? Is it 1.5 space? That's leading. Right? But in computers nowadays, you can change the leading to whatever you want it to be, just the way you like the way that it looks. You don't have to say, let's try 1.5. So here's an example. The first paragraph shows major leading between lines. Now this is Latin. And then the second shows a normal leading. It's, I don't know, let's try. T. Just hit T. Cool. All right. This is Mrs. Peterson's language. Okay. Okay, stop. Okay, how is this justified right now? Left, right, or center?
Center.
Okay. Look, on Canva, all you have to do is change it this way. Okay, what's this one called?
Wow. Justified.
Okay, so I have everything left justified. Now watch this. First, I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. And then if you go to this one, which on in Word, if you go to that up and down one, it lets you choose one single space, double space, 1.5 space, 1.15 space. I'm going to go here. Now, this line height is, what's our vocabulary word that you guys just learned? Leading.
No way.
This is leading, okay?
Wow, that is.
Does anybody have a hypothesis why it's called leading?
Because you're letting.
No.
Because of lead.
It is because of lead. Anybody want to guess how it is with lead?
Wait,
Hold on. What?
I'm saying you say this because of lead.
It is because of lead.
Then how you know?
Okay, so can anyone hypothesize?
Mechanical pencil.
It's not a mechanical pencil because mechanical pencil would not be type font, right? It'd be handwriting. What do you think? A lead pencil is kind of what he said.
It's because leads have different amount of points. They have different points, and each one, I guess you could say, whenever you write what they do, tend to have some bigger spaces depending on what.
Okay, that's a good hypothesis. Let's hear it.
Question. On Word, isn't this like the thingy that you put in to like just space out your lines or whatever?
Yes, but it's not going to let you make it's not going to let you do what I just did right now.
It has to do something with how you print it, right?
Okay, Word won't let you do this. Photoshop will let you do this. Okay.
Does it have something to do with how it prints out on the printer?
It kind of does. So here's what you guys are all thinking. You're all thinking modern, right?
Yeah.
But remember, before computers were newspapers,
Typewriter.
and before typewriters were, okay, the hieroglyphics is a little far back. The what?
Pencils.
He said ink press. He's close.
Hieroglyphics.
No, because that's not lead. That's stone. All right, and that's stone. Paper it has something to do with paper. Here's a historical question. What invention changed the world in the 1700s so that more people could read books? So, you said because of lead.
Yeah.
All right, now I'm going to show you why. Okay, so in a printing press, all right, I'm going to use this one as an example.
Oh, you can hit right click and then click.
That's all right. Okay, so if you notice, right here they're single spaced. But see this big piece of lead that they put between these, and now it looks like they're double spaced. That's where the term leading came from, because before we had copy machines and printers that we call right here, we had an ink press or a printing press, and every single letter is its own little piece of lead that is in the shape of a letter, all right? So here's some of the, this is the lead and the different width, okay?
So is this still used today?
In some places, my husband actually, his parents, they actually owned print shops. They owned one print shop, then they sold it and they bought another print shop. So when he was your guys' age, his parents still did this. So that was 35 years ago, something like that. And people still did it, but now everything is just, you type it and you print it, right? Because of computers. All right, leading. So now when you have leading on the test, do you think you can remember what that is? It is the vertical space between lines. Leading lines. Everybody say leading lines. Leading lines. All right. Because the next one, kerning, is the adjustment of space between letters. The first 3 lines show adjustment between kerning of the letters. So see how these letters here look like they're further apart, and these letters down here look super, super close. That's kerning. Okay, so when you have some sort of paragraph and you go to this up and down thing, the first thing that we remember is the line height. And what's the line height word? Leading. But you can also do the letter, which is called kerning. Okay, too close. But kerning is really great to use, like maybe on a title of something, where you get the letters further apart so maybe they fit across your page. So kerning I don't use it as much as I use leading unless I'm designing a logo. And sometimes I'll kern to make that logo look like a little bit different because it's kerned, all right? But I show you this on Canva because you're going to be using Canva today for your assignment, and you're going to have to do leading and kerning. All right, let's go and finish this up. Okay, types of types. All type fits into 4 major categories. They are serif, sans serif, script, and decorative. Serif. Serif fonts are a typeface that have those little ears or feet, okay, at the end. So see this little foot right here at the end? And see how this part of the F comes down? See how this little part of the I comes out? Those are serifs, okay? Now look at this S. There's a serif here and a serif here. But look down here. There's no serifs here. This word, this whole paragraph is a sans serif font. This title right here is a serif font. Ears and feet, little things that stick out, is serif. Does that make sense? So looking at the heading, you see that those ears or feet are on the S. Times New Roman is a serif font. So when you think of what Times New Roman looks like, that's serif. Serif's fonts are very popular due to their fast readability and conservative nature. And what it means by that is because these little serifs are lower and they come out here, they actually let your eye move quicker across the page. So all the Times New Roman, Times, guess what? Newspapers used to be called the Los Angeles Times, the Washington Times, all right? Wow. So all of those newspaper fonts had the serifs in them, right? Now things, changed up, but most newspapers even today still use some sort of serif font. They also, if you were going to design something for, like a really classy car company or maybe a lawyer or something that's like kind of classy, you would use a serif font, all right? But you wouldn't use that if you were designing, or a bank or something like that. But you wouldn't use that if you were going to design for something really trendy. Probably you wouldn't use a serif font. All right, sans serif. Who knows French in here? What does this word mean in French?
It means anti.
It means anti, without, not. Anti-serif, no serif. Sans serif, without serif. So sans serif do not have those little ears or feet or letters. Arial is an example of sans serif font. You can see this example. This is Arial. That the letters have a real clean, modern look. Sans serif fonts make it easier for the reader to identify each letter, but they actually slow down the reader's reading speed. Sans serif fonts are great for headlines or display type or something a little more trendy. Script faces look like handwriting, and yes, they're extremely formal, right? When you send out announcements for graduation or announcements for a wedding, 98% of the time people are going to use a script for that because it's a formal announcement. And then it says in some cases very informal because some of the scripts like just sort of look like somebody with a messy handwriting, right? But most of the time, if it looks like somebody hand wrote it, that is 90% of the time going to be a script handwriting font. No, what I'm saying is when you're actually looking at the font in an advertisement, if it looks like somebody hand wrote that part of the advertisement, that's a script font. Does that make sense? It says script faces are best used sparingly. They're very hard to read. However, they can add a pop interest to your piece. Don't be afraid to mix script with other styles to interest your work. I will mention this. You should never on any document ever have more than 3 fonts on it. Unless you're going to design in an old-fashioned manner. Don't be afraid to mix script styles with others. Now, decorative, you guys, decorative is pretty much anything else. If it decorative typefaces contain fonts that basically don't fit into anything else, and they usually are extremely difficult to read, and use them sparingly, okay? Due to these fonts' readability, they're best used as like a headliner font. I didn't notice this for the first 2 years that I taught this, but this particular decorative font is worms. Do you see them now? See the worms? Okay. I've used font before that has snowflakes through it, or little hearts for the holes instead of like the hole in the O is instead of the hole in the O is a 0, it's a heart. Those will be decorative fonts. So they're extremely difficult to read and use them sparingly because they're hard to read. But they'd be good for maybe a title. So I'm going to go back over here to Canva. Okay. So here's love, peace, and joy. I'm going to ungroup them so I can move them around the way that I want them. Okay, so here's love, peace, and joy. What kind of font is love, peace, and joy? Okay, that is a font style, but what kind of font is it? It is a serif font. This is a serif font. What about from the Fitzgeralds? What kind of font is that? Sans serif. What about this one right here? Nicolani.
Decorative.
That is not decorative.
That is script.
That's script.
Yes.
Okay. What about Oswald?
That is Sarah.
It's not serif. It's sans serif. It's without. Okay. What about Roxborough?
That is Sarah.
Serif. What about this one?
That's decorative.
Shrickhand. I think it is decorative. I think it's decorative. It is a serif decorative, but I think it's decorative. So you guys get the idea?
Yes.
There's not a lot of decorative fonts in here. Here's one. Ninja. That one's decorative. Ninja. What are these?
Script.
What about this one?
That's a
Decorative.
script.
It's a script, but
Right.
it's a decorative script, but it's still a script. What about this one?
Serif.
It is serif, but I think it's decorative. Look how it has.
Serif decorative.
What about this one?
Decorative.
Right, it looks like a script.
I think it's decorative.
It's actually decorative
I'm
because,
such a goat, honestly.
but when they, yeah. All right, you guys got the idea. For whatever reason, my Canva is not allowing me to do this. Every once in a while, you find something pretty crazy like this. Definitely decorative, right? What about that one, Beth
Not
Eller?
bad, not bad. Decorative. That's
That's script.
Script.
I'm only on the B's. I'm not going to scroll through the rest of them.
Yeah.
This one is a sans serif, but it is actually for sure a decorative. Okay. All right, I'm not going to scroll through them all. You guys got the idea.